Welcome to the HEARTS Entwined podcast. In this podcast, we'll be having discussions around the secrets which attract lasting, healthy, fulfilling relationships, creating a healthy mindset, and what women should know and understand about men. Introducing your host, Lyn Smith, the Queen of Hearts, relationship expert, trainer, speaker, and best-selling author of the Cupid's Bow technique. Lyn's mission is to have a positive impact in reducing divorce, domestic violence, and suicide.
Welcome to the HEARTS Entwined podcast. This is your host, Lyn Smith, the Queen of Hearts. And today I've invited a wonderful guest and friend of mine. She's a returning guest because she's so knowledgeable. She's such a great describer of her experiences and knowledge. And she's so open to sharing such a lot. Her name is Caroline Ackroyd. She's a hypnotherapist and love coach. Welcome back, Caroline.
Thank you, Lyn. Thank you for that warm, beautiful introduction. Thank you for having me again. Such a pleasure, such an honor.
You're so welcome, Caroline. And today we're going to be talking about why we attract emotionally unavailable men. So I think this is going to be a fascinating topic for us to get down deep and intimate with, because I feel it's such a common thing that as women go through in at least one of our relationships through our lifetimes, isn't it?
Absolutely, Lyn. So it tends to be a pattern. It tends to not be a one-off thing where we find ourselves in a relationship with an emotionally unavailable man. And when I say emotionally unavailable, that can manifest itself, that can look like someone who is not affectionate and loving, all the way to higher degrees. He's a narcissist, all the way to psychopath. So there is a continuum, but the bottom line is being an emotionally unavailable man. And that goes back to a common childhood, common themes in childhood that will then lead you to be attracted to and unknowingly be attracted to and choose an emotionally unavailable partner. And that's really what people are unaware of, women are unaware of. That was absolutely my story, which then, after being in a narcissistic relationship, but I had two previous relationships that were also emotionally unavailable. And that then, after becoming a hypnotherapist and understanding where all this came from, then I had that understanding and was able to break the pattern. And we'll get into that in our discussion. But just to set it up for the ladies listening.
Yeah, and that, I suppose, goes both ways. It doesn't just mean it's a pattern that you as a woman experience, but also the guys that you're choosing have got something in their past and childhood that is probably similar in terms of what they've been through that makes them emotionally unavailable.
Yes. So we're going to meet our partner at the level of unhealed wounding or at the level of our healing. So that's why we keep repeating it, this pattern, until we resolve and heal the pattern in us, what is really going on. Until we heal that, resolve that, we're going to stay within this unaware, unconscious pattern and keep repeating it, keep replaying it. So I would love for us to get into a little bit about what is the beginning? Where does this come from? What is really going on?
Yeah, that's what I'd really love to dig down deep with you around is what is it that, and where does all this stem from?
Okay, so Lyn, so when we are attracting an emotionally unavailable man in this case, and this applies to men too, that if they're in this pattern and they're attracting emotionally unavailable women, what is the root cause here? So in childhood, your emotional needs were not met. You did not feel loved. You did not feel seen. You did not have the affection and support that you longed for and needed as a child. So as it was not met, and there are degrees, again, there are degrees in childhood. It can, in my case, my father loved me dearly, dearly, but he was sort of stoic, you know. He was he was not able to easily show his emotions and affection, and I could see that he wanted to. And even on his deathbed, Lyn, he told me, Caroline, I was not able to show you that love and affection. You know, I'm so sorry. So it can range from that to an abusive childhood, you know, where you have a lot of abuse coming from the parent onto the child. But the bottom line is you did not receive the love or the affection that you longed for. And so that sets your, I call it the love blueprint, where that is familiar to you. The absence of affection and longing for it, this creates in you a pining pattern. And I don't know if that pattern exists out there as a coined term, but I'm coining it then because that's what I use, this pining pattern, where that is what love is to you. Love is marked by longing, by chasing, by working for it, by pretzeling yourself and changing yourself in order to get it. So let me give a quick example. So if you're a very bubbly, loud, playful child, let's say you were that originally as a child, but in your home, it was not safe to be loud and expressive. And I don't know, you had maybe an angry parent who was just like, calm down, you know, be quiet. And then you changed. You knew you had to be quiet. And so you went changing, you went suppressing that natural extrovert personality into a wallflower, let's say, in order to get the love that you wanted and needed as a child. So children need love and affection because their survival depends on it. They need to fit into the family. They need to be loved and accepted by the parent because your survival depends on it. And they need it. They don't need only food and water. Children need love.
Yeah, I agree. I think generationally, certainly, I mean, I was a child that was born in 1960, and certainly during my childhood in Britain at the time, kids were very much seen but not heard. It was a case of be quiet, shut up, know your place, only speak when you're spoken to. We didn't really have a voice.
Exactly. And my father was coming from that generation, Lyn. So as much as he loved me, he was unable to express that. And so it created in me this longing, that this I pined, let's say, for my dad's expressed love and affection. And that's what I took. And that's where the pattern began. And so in a child's mind, you go, I must not be good enough. My father doesn't show, I want the love, the affection. He doesn't show it. It must be because, so children always have to rationalize that, you know, there's a conclusion that comes. It must be because I'm not enough, or I'm not lovable, or I'm not worthy of love. Okay, so that's where the disconnect to your own worthiness and enoughness and lovability begins. And then you start to change in order to have that love. So, but you go on then, if longing and pining for love is your love blueprint, that's what's familiar to you, and your pattern is you're trying to get that love, right? You're then going to be subconsciously or unconsciously attracted to men, in this case, that are like your dad and that stoic or unemotional, unaffectionate, because you are unknowingly going to choose someone who mirrors that parent, in my case, my dad. So I was unknowingly choosing emotionally unavailable men who were not able to say I love you, who were not able to hug me and kiss me. And I stayed in these relationships for years, longing, feeling lonely, feeling sad, and unseen, and just hoping that they would change and love me and see me. And that was just the little girl in me, right? The inner
Yeah.
child, still longing and pining for daddy's love. Because, and here's the thing, this is what anybody who is in a pattern has to realize. You are trying to change your parent by changing that partner, that man that is emotionally unavailable, right? Because if you can change an emotionally unavailable, unaffectionate man who is like your dad, let's say, and you can make him into a warm, cuddly, loving pussycat, right? That is going to love you, adore you, you will have put a happy ending on your childhood. You would have resolved that problem that you've been trying to resolve since you were a little girl. And so we spend years of our lives going through these relationships. It comes to a head, you end it, it ends in tears, and then you think, I will, the next one, the next relationship will be better. Without knowing, because you're unconscious of what's going on, you go and you're drawn, you're attracted to the same type. And
Yeah.
even though it may not look like it at the beginning, after the falling in love phase, or the courtship phase, but you can identify it even at the beginning if you're aware that he's emotionally unavailable, but you're not aware that he's emotionally unavailable because you're not aware that you're in this pattern. And so you enter again a relationship with someone who is emotionally unavailable. So it's sort of you replay the same movie, but with a different man.
Yeah. And the thing is that, actually we're focused more on trying to change him rather than looking at the root cause, which is actually changing us and our perception, and becoming more aware of why do I keep, repeating these patterns, and the common denominator is ourselves, isn't it?
It is, Lyn, and I'm so glad you brought that up, because then that pattern of I can't change him and I want to change him. And maybe all guys are emotionally unavailable, and it starts looking like that, like it's an outside problem, like it's a problem with guys. They're emotionally unavailable and they're all like that. And it's like, no, there could be a room with 100 men, and if you have this pattern, this pining pattern, you are going to be drawn to the one man in there that is emotionally unavailable. So the perception is skewed, and you'll try and change that man because you've been trying to do that since you were a little girl.
And we always want to, even though it's not a healthy relationship, or at worst, it could become a toxic relationship. Because it's familiar to us, we stay longer than what we should in that relationship, don't we? Because familiarity is better than, it's like unconsciously it's better the devil you know.
Yes, yes. And so even though it's painful, it's familiar. And there is the neurological component, physiological component to this, Lyn. And this is so important that the listener know to hear, because when you're in this pining pattern, longing for love, or in a toxic relationship where you develop a trauma bond, where someone is giving you some love, so you have happy moments, you have moments that give you hope. Oh, this is working, I can change him. And you experience some joy, some love, but then he pulls away, and you're experiencing pain. He's maybe critical, judging, and more in an extreme sense, abusive. That creates a trauma bond where you're hooked on the happy moments where you get a dopamine hit, and you feel that rush, that that hope, happiness, that is then followed by this pain, disappointment, and you're stuck in the loop, but you're living for the high. And so you're willing to stay through the pain because you're anticipating and longing and living for that moment of joy, that one moment where he gives you some love.
Yeah. I think quite often we fall for the potential of somebody, can't we, on the back of experiencing a little bit of love and joy, and then we think, oh yeah, there is that potential, so we hang on to that.
Yes, yes. And you hang on to the potential. And so in that case, where there is that trauma bond, it is truly an addiction. And your brain is literally wired and addicted to that. So it's very hard to simply extricate yourself from that, simply walk away and say, no, this is not a healthy relationship. That's why it's so hard for people who are in this pattern of attracting emotionally unavailable men and getting into toxic relationships. There is this neurological, truly addicted brain pattern in there that needs to be changed, rewired, literally at the neurological level. And for the person then to also become aware of the pattern. And even when they become aware, if they're working with someone like myself, that specializes in inner child healing and relationship patterns and can help you see what is the exact pattern and story that you are recreating? What are you trying to exactly solve through your unhealthy adult relationships? You still need to then heal and rewire at a neurological level to be able to then go and have a healthy relationship.
Absolutely, 100% agree. So I suppose the first, bit of wisdom you've imparted is become more aware of what's actually going on in your relationship. If you're not happy for whatever reason, we've always got to do, resist pointing the finger at the partner and saying it's him, it's him, it's him. And at some stage think, well, actually, where am I responsible? Where can I be accountable for what is actually happening within this relationship?
Absolutely, absolutely, Lyn. So for myself, after this was my third marriage, and it sort of it accumulated. It was the most strongest example of unavailable love he was a narcissist. And I totally lost myself in that relationship, and I bent over backwards to try and be loved by him, so not speaking up, really fearing any kind of retaliation response, right, from him, and harsh words, and really stepping on eggshells, walking on eggshells for years. So that was the most extreme. So it hit a high point. And when I learned about the term narcissism and I looked it up, and there he was to a T, all the characteristics, that's when I was like, oh my goodness, okay, this is who he is, like. And I had to really have a reckoning with myself and be like, I am choosing this. I could have chosen someone else, but I chose him. So what is going on that I am choosing these kinds of guys and ending up in these kinds of disconnected, cold relationships where there's lacking love, affection. Our conversations are very shallow about just everyday matters. They're not authentic and really vulnerable, where I'm talking about my feelings and he's talking about his feelings, and we'll feel safe to be ourselves. What is going on here? And so taking responsibility for that was the beginning of my healing journey, to take a look at that and take responsibility for choosing these people. You attract them, yes, but you choose them at some level. And I had to really go into, why am I choosing this type and not that warm, loving, caring, kind man, for the love that I really wanted. I really wanted that. I wanted to be seen, loved, adored, have him hug me, kiss me. And I didn't have that. So I had to look at myself and ask, why? it did go back to me, and it went back to my childhood, back to this pattern of wanting to be seen and by my dad, and these men were simply representations of my dad, and I was still working very hard to be seen and loved by my dad through these partners.
Yeah, I get it. And I think we're all a work in progress, aren't we? And to a certain extent, even when we become aware, we still look for that external validation from others, when really it's always an inside job, isn't it? We always need to validate ourselves first and foremost.
It is an inside job, and that validation, exactly. So that validation would really come in that form of, maybe I didn't feel like I got that the affection, the demonstration of love that I wanted, needed, and I made it mean that I must not be enough and worthy of it. But that is my childhood interpretation. Me as a child, children always blame themselves for it. So it means that I'm not enough, I'm not worthy. And so as an adult, that's where you can change the story and say, you know what? I was a beautiful child. I was loving. I deserved love, affection. I was so adorable. And if I didn't get that love and that validation that I needed as a child of being lovable, worthy enough, it was because my dad could not demonstrate that. But I am loving, lovable, worthy enough, and I can validate myself now as an adult. That's the difference. You can validate yourself. You no longer need mommy, daddy, whoever, as a parent to validate you. And that's the empowering difference, is that as an adult, you can decide that, choose that, and say, now I'm worthy of that man that sees me, that loves and adores me the way that I love and adore myself, and that I see that I can receive that because I'm giving that to myself. I'm acknowledging and validating myself, and I will actually no longer settle for someone who doesn't treat me that way, kindly, lovingly, to have that kind of relationship. And the moment you do that, that is when you begin being attracted to warm, loving, kind men, because you're doing that for yourself and no longer unconsciously, unknowingly seeking out, being drawn and being attracted to a guy who is cold. And so women often go through, after being in these kinds of toxic relationships, they're going around looking for red flags.
Yeah.
So they're looking for red flags, and again, that is looking outside of yourself and saying like the man is the enemy. They're the ones that have problems and red flags, and I need to be aware of them. No, you need to look into yourself and see, why am I attracting these people? What is my pattern here? And once you're able to change that in yourself, you won't have to look for red flags. It'll feel repelling to be with someone who is not just warm and can say, how are you today? You look like you need a hug. Someone that is just warm. You will not be attracted to that, to someone who is not like that. And so the red flags sort of become irrelevant.
Yeah. And I think if we're going into relationships looking for red flags, you'll actually find them and magnify them, and it doesn't do that or bode well for any future relationship if that's the mindset you're going into a relationship with, is it?
True. And Lyn, if you're looking for red flags, that's what you're going to attract. If you're looking for red flags, it means that, and you're finding red flags. Let's see, you're out there, they're dating, and you're looking for red flags, and a man you're dating has red flags. It means you are still attracting that pattern. It means you still have lots of inner work to do. If that type is still coming up on your radar, you will know that you have healed when that type and those red flags no longer come into your radar. You know, if then after, if when you're attracting warm, kind guys, you know, and they don't have the red flags, you know, you have healed yourself.
Absolutely. Yeah. Because we can make things a self-fulfilling prophecy, can't we? So if we're going into relationships, for example, with a track record of having men cheat on us, and we're thinking all men are cheaters, then you're putting that energy out there, and that's what you're going to keep focusing on and keep attracting.
Exactly. You will keep attracting that because you're still unaware that it's starting with you.
Yeah. And so then, you know, don't be surprised if it comes a self-fulfilling prophecy and that's a repeat pattern in your relationships. And obviously we're not educated about this, you know, by our parents or by schools. We're not given any relationship studies to do, or role plays to do in schools, are we, about how to have healthy relationships? So don't worry if you're feeling like, you know, oh my God, this has been my pattern. We can all put our hands up and say, you know what, it's been our pattern too, because we're not taught this stuff, are we?
Absolutely, Lyn. That is why I'm so passionate about educating, getting this message out there. One, because we're not educated, we're not taught this, right? That we're going to recreate our past in order to solve it, that we attract people that are sort of at the level of our wounding or healedness, right? And I was stuck there for so long, and I wanted that relationship, and now I have it, and I really, it's not something that you beat yourself up for. It's just something to become aware of, and it's a starting point for a beautiful healing journey, that so you can have a beautiful, healthy, happy relationship.
Excellent. Love that advice. And, you know that it's possible, know that it is possible to heal your stuff and attract a healthy, passionate relationship if that's what you want. I mean, some people, after having abusive relationships, quite often think, well, it's not worth it. I'd rather stay single, and that's fair enough. But know that it is possible to change things, but it starts from you and looking within.
Absolutely, Lyn. I mean, everybody has their own choice, can make their own choice about what they want in life. If they want to remain single, that's beautiful. If they want a close, loving relationship, that's wonderful. So, but for those who would like to have a beautiful, a healthy, fulfilling relationship in which they feel safe, seen, loved, adored, cherished, then that's, and you're not having that, then this is really what they would need to know. Maybe this is what's going on for them.
So on that note then, Caroline, what's the best contact information that you can share with our audience as to how people get in touch?
Okay, so on Facebook, I'm there as Caroline Ackroyd. On LinkedIn as well, Caroline Ackroyd. In Instagram, I'm Hypno Love Coach, all together, Hypno Love Coach. And my email is also hypnolovecoach@gmail.com.
Excellent. It's been a fascinating conversation. Any final words that you'd like to share that we've not already discussed around why we attract emotionally unavailable men?
I think I've said so much, but to give that hope that it is possible to change, it is possible, if that is your desire, to have that beautiful, healthy, happy relationship. It's not that you're unworthy. It's not that other people can have it and you don't. It can, and even I was thinking of the term find love. That's not actually a very empowering way of saying it, term, because it's like, well, I don't find four-leaf clovers, so I feel unlucky. And it's not about finding love. It's about attracting that partner. And everybody is always attracting somebody. You are attracting to you within this dynamic that we discussed. So if you long for that kind of loving relationship, you absolutely can attract it. It's not for the chosen few. It's not a question of luck or finding the person. It's about simply attracting them. And it's possible and available for you too.
Excellent. Love that. So thank you so much, Caroline. It's been another fascinating conversation, as always. And I've really enjoyed discussing this topic of why we attract emotionally unavailable men.
Thank you, Lyn, so much for having me. Again, such a pleasure, such an honor. Thank you so much.
So, my lovely audience, it just leaves me to say that true love starts with opening our hearts. And until next time, goodbye for now.
Thanks for listening to the Hearts Entwined podcast. You can follow Lyn via the Facebook group Two Hearts Entwined, or search Lyn Smith, inspirational speaker, at LinkedIn, or email lyn@hearts-entwined.com. That's LYN@hearts-entwined.com. Remember, true love starts with opening our hearts.